Hey, criminal defense attorneys, this video is specifically for you. To give you a little history, my dad was a criminal defense attorney. If you've seen any of our other videos, there's a few things of me talking about that. But this is a backstory, and I'm going to catch up to where the ATF is today and what you need to know if you are representing someone who is convicted of a felony. This is probably 1988, 89. My dad gets this client. Still remember her name very, very well. Through the course of them being able to pay for her defense, criminal defense, they gave my dad a handful of guns. One of them in particular was a Browning 9mm, Browning high power. If you know guns, you know what a Browning high power is. Beautiful guns, wonderful guns. So before the trial was over, before the case was over, the woman got murdered. The woman that my dad was representing got murdered, and she got murdered at work. Kind of a famous case back home. Fairly wealthy people. I'm not going to go through the whole case, but after she was dead, my dad had taken these guns in on retainer, and the family knew that Dad had taken them in on retainer. They came in and wanted the guns back. And Dad said, well, look, actually where we are today, I know you want them back, but you all still owe me for services rendered over and above what those guns would have covered for retainer fee. And so it became more of a verbal argument. It never went to court, it never got a legal challenge or anything like that. But, me, of course, believing what my dad had to say, these people were being unfair about, what the value of the guns were and what value or service my dad had given to that family. So fast forward today, this is February 17th, 2025. You are a criminal defense attorney. You have a guy that comes in to see you, or you go to the jail to see them because they're still in jail, and you get hired to represent this person. Whether they're a scumbag or whether they're an upright, upstanding person is yet to be determined, right? But you've gotten a good story by this point because your client has given you a good story. And through the course of this, you discuss, of course, your retainer, what they're going to owe you. You, as depending on what kind of attorney you are, you may or may not tell them what the duration of this is going to cost them for the next 2 years while you're fighting their case. But there's obviously some type of retainer that you want to discuss with this person. If you're really good, you get them out of jail the first visit. Bond them out. But anyway, that's a discussion as attorney that you have to have. Here's what I want to warn you attorneys of, is what happened to my dad could happen to you. Attorneys still will do, it's not against the law to do trades. I'm sure different states are different. We're in Tennessee. Tennessee may be different than Virginia or West Virginia. Probably certainly different than New Jersey or New York. Everybody does weird things up there. I lived in New York City for a little while, so I have the right to say that. But based on what you're allowed to do by your state bar and take for payment by your state bar or trade by your state bar will determine ethically what you're supposed to do. So this is not advice from an attorney. This is, as an attorney, you should know what you're allowed to do. But I want to caution you against taking some items that can be sold easily on consignment by a licensed dealer. Because the very same thing that happened to my dad can happen to you. If you get someone that wants to trade a bunch of guns, a bunch of firearms, whether they're family heirlooms or just recently purchased Glocks, I highly believe it is in your best interest to find a really good FFL dealer. Let them make a list of those items. All the serials have to go into their database. They will give you a report back of all of those serial numbers and all the items that you turned in, and then let them sell them on consignment for you. There's a couple of reasons why. One is the person who has been charged with a felony is not supposed to give any directive on where those guns can be given away, sold, stored, like it's no longer within their purview to be able to do that. If you are an attorney, why get caught in the quagmire of explaining how you disposed of them or what was done with them, or have to spend the time explaining to anyone what was done with those firearms? The best advice as an attorney I can give you is get someone who can legally and ethically dispose of them. Give a check back to your client who would be the recipient of those funds, and then let that client continue to pay you for your services. Now, if you're an attorney and you're a firearms collector and you got 40 guns and you just can't resist it, then I can understand that, I suppose. But the ethical, moral thing that you should do is find a good dealer, let them take care of it for you, and then everything looks like it is completely above board, not only to your client's family, should something happen to that client, like happened to Mrs. We'll just call her Mrs. L. It was Mrs. L. Like happened to Mrs. L back in the 80s. There's some accountability there. There's records there. There's serial numbers there. Everything is above board. And as an attorney, the last thing you want to have to go do is explain to a bar, your state bar, why you handled something the way you did if somebody wants to file a complaint with your state bar. I hope this helps. Yes, I'm in the firearms business. I'm actually in the security industry. We've been in security for 22 years. Firearms is one of the three things that we do. We have like 4 or 5 licenses. But if it's not here in Tennessee, if you're somewhere else, find yourself a really good local FFL dealer and just say, hey, here's my client. Here's their information. Can you pick these up and have them dispose of them for you? Hope this helps. And if you will, please like and subscribe.